We're joined by our very special guest via StreamYard here, Mr. Michael Cohen, as we've said, a former Trump attorney and fixer for the former president, and now, an author himself. Matt Flynn, of course, is an author, but has a new book coming out soon called Revenge, and he has a great top-rated podcast, Mea Culpa. Mr. Cohen, thanks for taking time. How are you?
Hey, Todd. First of all, the book Revenge actually came out a year ago. I am working on so the very first book was called Disloyal. That hit #1. Revenge hit #6 on the New York Times bestseller. And I am working on a third book as we speak. But yes, it's great to be with you and everybody there in Wisconsin.
Well, great. I'm not sure what your time frame is here, and again, I'm sorry if things got messed up on our end. But can you stay through the top of the hour news and come back at 6 after? Or you got to go.
Nope, I'm with you, my friend.
All right, sounds good. And by the way, on the phone is a colleague of mine from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a former attorney himself, former two-time chair of the Democratic Party, and an author, Matt Flynn. So I wanted to just have my buddy Matt on talking to two attorneys here. We got about 5 minutes before we have to go for the top of the hour. But I want to start out, Mr. Cohen, because I remember seeing you on CBS This Morning back in the Charlie Rose days when you're still part of the Trump world, and you compare what you were then to what you are now. It's a very different person. And in one of your books there, I wanted it all: power, the good life, political acclaim, fame, big deals, fast cars, private planes, the excess and glamour of zest for life. You wrote in Disloyal. Explain the two different Michael Cohens.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of a disconnect in that. What I was sort of saying was that what Donald Trump offered me was excitement. It was the big deals. It was being around, the high power individuals that floated around that billionaire class. One of the things I discuss also in Disloyal, I retired at the age of 39. I was very fortunate. I had done very well early on in my career. I didn't go to work for Donald Trump because I needed the money, because it was about a paycheck. I did it because I was in love with the excitement, with all of the deal making that was going on, as well as the people that surrounded not just Donald, but all of the deals.
So, Matt Flynn, you want to jump in here? About 2 minutes left before the first break.
Yeah, Michael, this is Matt Flynn. Pleasure to meet you over the phone.
The same, Matt.
An initial thank you. I have an initial question, and that is, you saw through Trump, but he is a walking crime scene. Everybody goes to jail. His CEO, his CFO, his campaign chairman, his campaign manager, Roger Stone, everybody. And yet, except for you, the rest of them seem to have stayed loyal. And what I do not understand, you're a perceptive guy, you're a smart guy, and you saw through it. How in God's name does he keep the loyalty of a whole bunch of people who end up with felony convictions and yet still maintain loyalty to him, and he doesn't go to jail at all?
About a minute and a half.
Well, so far he hasn't gone to jail yet, and he has not faced accountability. We do know that on September 18th, he will be standing before Judge Juan Merchan here in New York for the Manhattan District Attorney. We'll call it the hush money case, something that I, too, pled guilty to. To answer your question, why do they do it? They're stupid. There's really no other way to answer that question. I wish that I really had a better answer for you. Many of them see him as an option for them to acquire great wealth and to, again, be around the excitement. I want to also just remind your listeners, Todd, that when I worked for Donald Trump, I was working for the president and CEO of a small myopic real estate development company. And I had, like everybody else, been reading about Donald Trump since I was young, since I was in college. I remember, and I talk about it in Disloyal, I talked about how I had read The Art of the Deal not once but twice, in 87 and then again in like 89. And I enjoyed the book very much. I enjoyed The Apprentice. In fact, when I first joined Trump, I was one of only 3 board members of the Miss Universe pageant. All right. It was Trump, Alan Weisselberg, and myself. Mind you, 10 years plus later, 3 felons. Let me also say that he made me into co-president of Trump Production, and I was involved in The Apprentice as well. So
I'm trying to cut you off, but we're up against a break. We'll come back and talk about it if you'd be so very kind. Look, I've started this show. I watched The Apprentice too. Come on back. Michael Cohen, Matt Flynn, second hour of the Todd Allbaugh Show. Not going to want to miss it right here across Wisconsin and around the world of the Civic Media Radio Network. We're welcoming our fine guest back this hour, special guest here on the show. He is Mr. Michael Cohen, one-time Trump attorney and fixer, now a great author, a great podcaster, also a YouTube channeler. Found out that he has a brand new show called The Michael Cohen Show on YouTube. Mr. Zommers is going to link that in our show notes, and you can find that as well. Joining us via phone, our friend and ongoing colleague, Mr. Matt Flynn, two-time chair of the Democratic Party of Wisconsin and author himself, and also an attorney. Matt Flynn, welcome back to the show. And of course, Michael Cohen, thanks so much for taking the time to come into hour number 2 of the show. Just for our listeners, we're giving away tickets, Michael. There's a brand new movie out called the Just a Bit Outside, the story of the 1982 Milwaukee Brewers who got all the way to Game 7 and lost to the St. Louis Cardinals. So there's a new show. We have tickets to the VIP premiere next week in Waukesha. We'll give those away a little bit later this hour. But right now, I want to get back to our special guest, Michael Cohen. Thanks so much for sticking around.
It's great to be here. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. And you said you've been to Wisconsin. You know a little bit.
I have. I've been to Wisconsin. It's wonderful. One thing I do certainly want to say is how important the state of Wisconsin is, as all the states are, but specifically, you have a group like Wisconsin, like Michigan, like Georgia, like Pennsylvania. They're very important states. And I want your listeners to sort of understand where I'm going with this. It is so imperative that the blue wall literally sweep this country. Because as I say in my very last paragraph of Revenge, that Trumpism is fascism, and we must eradicate it from our body politic. It's clear. It is clear that the man is an autocratic wannabe. So, when I was asked earlier, why do people stay with Donald Trump? And I said that they're stupid. And then you responded back asking me, but what sort of got you out? It's really my family. It was my wife, my daughter, my son. I was sitting with George Stephanopoulos over at the Lowe's, and I was having a conversation with him where I said exactly that. And he said, you know what? Save that for the interview. And I did. And he asked me, and I said, I want to be clear about 2 things. First, my wife, my daughter, my son, and my country must have my first loyalty and always will. But more important than even that is, as the son of a Holocaust survivor, I felt it's my responsibility to my father, who I still have, thank God, not to destroy the family name or the good fortune that he had to avoid the wrath of Hitler. And when I turned around, I said, I will never allow history to remember me as the villain of Donald Trump's story. I will not. And I will go down, I will fight, like I'm asking each and every one of you to fight, for our democratic republic, to fight for our Constitution and for women, and for the right within which to make your own reproductive decision making. This is not a joke anymore.
Yeah. Matt Flynn.
Yeah, something, Michael, this is a terrific opportunity for us. And I got to ask you one question. This has always bothered me, okay? And here's the question. A lot of people that support Trump, in my view, don't believe he's going to do what he says he's going to do. They think he's shooting his mouth off. He's a guy from Queens. He's overstating it, but everything will be okay. My question to you, you know him. When he says that he is going to pull aid to Ukraine and he's going to basically cut off NATO, in your heart of hearts, do you think that is BS and he's overstating it, or do you think there's a real danger of that?
I think he's understating it. He poses a clear and present danger to our Constitution, okay? To this document, he poses a clear and present danger. Let me remind your listeners that in June of 2020, I was unconstitutionally remanded back to prison. I was lured down to 500 Pearl Street by the DOJ, where they handcuffed and shackled me because I refused to waive my First Amendment constitutional right. I refused to sign a counterfeit document that would have prohibited me from publishing my book Disloyal and speaking about it on social media or in the press. So what did they do? They had the marshals meet me there, handcuffed, shackled, and they sent me back to solitary confinement for another 16 days. I did 51 days in total in solitary confinement. So when Donald Trump tells you what he wants to do, when Donald Trump is forecasting what he will do, why would you not listen to the man who's telling you himself?
Michael, I think this is a great point that Matt brings up. And to that, to Matt's point, he's an attorney. You've been an attorney. Attorneys know their clients better than anybody else. Usually all the secrets, right? So when Trump comes, he's coming to Wisconsin on Saturday, to Mosinee, a rural part of the state in northern Wisconsin, and he's going to stand there and say how he loves people, and he's all, is that all, we're on broadcast radio, is that too BS? Does he not, does he care? Does he really care about folks in Wisconsin? Behind the scenes, when no one is watching, what does he say about people like the folks in Wisconsin?
It's not just about the folks in Wisconsin. It's anyone and everyone, including the sycophantic acolytes that are supporting him. Let me be clear about something. Donald Trump is a narcissistic sociopath who does not care about anyone or anything other than himself. He is running for the presidency of the United States of America, not to do good for America, not to bring us into the next 4 years and beyond, but rather to keep himself out of prison and to financially benefit from it. Plain and simple. And anyone who doesn't see that needs to open up their eyes. You need to see exactly what he's done. Literally going for, we're now talking about allegations where he took $10 million from Egypt, Saudi Arabia. After what, 60 days, they gave his son-in-law over $2 billion, the Qataris, the Emiratis, Turkey. All of these countries know Vladimir Putin, Kim Jong-un, Xi Jinping, right? Well, every single one of them know that Donald Trump is a transactional individual, that Donald J. Trump is for sale.
Let's get into this a little bit, what Merrick Garland did yesterday, this press conference with Russian interference with some of these influencers. People paying $400,000 a month and claim, oh, I didn't know that was from the Russians. Tell folks a little bit, as much as you can, how tight is Trump with Putin?
Okay, so a lot of that is, we're going to go back to the nice term, because as you know, my Mea Culpa podcast is rated E for explicit.
Appreciate that.
Raw, and it's raw and unfiltered, as this New York kind of kid is. Let me be clear. Let me be clear about something. Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump do not have a personal friendship. They do not have a personal relationship. Vladimir Putin is too smart for that. Donald Trump thinks that just because Vladimir Putin praised him and said that he's a smart guy, that he now has to reciprocate and he has to show that we're bros. Not true. Vladimir Putin has a document on Donald Trump that's got to be at least yay thick, all about the psychological profile. Remember, Vladimir Putin is former KGB. On top of that, he's not lazy like Donald. He studies. He knows who he's sitting next to. Trump thinks he's gonna sweet talk him. Oh yeah, it's gonna be great. Quite frankly, you're the best, Vlad. Whatever you say. No, that's not how it works. All right. He sees him as a fool, as a useful idiot, whereby he knows that he'll be able to get things from Donald Trump simply by stroking Trump's fragile ego. What's the thing that Vladimir Putin wants right away? If Donald Trump, God forbid, 1,000,000 times should become president of the United States, he wants the United States to completely distance itself from Ukraine. In that way, he can go in and he could wipe them out, take it over, and a lot of it probably has to do with oil money, as well as reconnecting the former Soviet Union together. That's
Michael,
what he wants, and that's what he'll get.
I want to be respectful of your time. Can you stick around for, we have a 1-minute break and then a 6-minute segment. Do you have that much time or not?
That's for you, absolutely, Todd.
You're the best. Matt Flynn, about 2 minutes left. What do you got?
I think what Michael just said is very important news, and it's extremely important. I have said in my show on this Civic Media in the past that Trump is on the take. What astounds me, Michael, is a guy gets $10 million from Egypt. His son-in-law gets $2 billion from the Saudis. His son, Eric Trump, told the journalists that the Russians have financed them for decades because the banks won't anymore because he's gone bankrupt. How the hell do people in the Trump universe continue to say that's okay?
Because that's part of the narrative, right? If it's not okay, then why is he running for the presidency? It's merely about self-survival.
And is that transactional with these other people, to Matt's point, as you kind of alluded to before, that people just are willing to compromise their morals to themselves and their family and their God, if they have one, that it's all about the transaction of how much they're getting paid?
It's not just about what they're getting paid. It's what they imagine in their mind that they will be able to accomplish. You see, guys like Steve Bannon, all right, or a Corey Lewandowski, why are they involved in this whole thing? Because they see themselves as the American oligarchs down the road, that they will be able to cling on to power and they will be able to use that power in order to amass massive fortunes while paying tribute to the king. Exactly what goes on in Russia. The only difference is what they don't realize is Trump has no interest or desire to share. It's like the same thing with Elon Musk, who thinks that he's going to get things out of Donald Trump. To the contrary, Trump will pull a Mohammed bin Salman on him and ultimately take his money too.
We're talking to Michael Cohen, host of The Michael Cohen Show on YouTube, a great author, Disloyal and Revenge. He's getting his. Come on back. One more segment. Michael Cohen on the other side of the Civic Media's Radio Network. Our very special guest today, Michael Cohen, former Trump fixer and attorney, but more importantly, now author. 2 great books out, another one on the way, Revenge and Disloyal. Also has a great podcast called Mea Culpa and a brand new YouTube channel called The Michael Cohen Show. Michael Cohen, we appreciate you being here. And our friend and colleague, Matt Flynn, an attorney and 2-time chair of the Democratic Party and author himself, joining via phone from Milwaukee. Let's get into the really important stuff, Michael. How's the relationship really behind closed doors with Melania? Do they hate each other? Does she love him? What's the deal with Melania?
Look, obviously, it doesn't take anybody, right, who's able to see that there's a lot of rift going on between the two. She has no interest in being around him for obvious reasons. It certainly didn't help his relationship with a porn star when she had just given birth to Barron, or following that with a Playboy playmate, Karen McDougal, while she had just had Barron. Those things certainly, strike at her. But you could see that there's like all these sort of unholy relationships that he has, the attacks upon him. She's more concerned about Barron than she is about him. And she's staying away. She's had very little to do with this campaign other than getting paid for her hair and makeup or to be paid within which to speak. I mean, that really goes to show you the level of the grift of this family. I think that is even worse than Lara Trump's recent release of that song, right? Which is just, again, it demonstrates the level of grift that these folks are willing to go to in order to make a buck. And this isn't normal for billionaires, right? I mean, I know plenty of billionaires. Nobody has this going on, selling Bitcoins and selling sneakers and, now, having their daughter-in-law, who's the vice chair of the RNC committee, going ahead and trying to increase her, her music career. This is so different than anything we've ever dealt with in U.S. history before.
I'm going to give Matt Flynn another question here, but before I do, kind of a quick 2-parter. A, is the ketchup thing real? Does he really throw plates or ketchup bottles against the wall when he's ticked off? And B, what really gets under Donald Trump's skin? What actually bothers him?
Me. I bother Donald Trump because he believes that everybody should have total fealty to him. And the fact that I have come out and I have spoken, remember, Mueller, 7 congressional committee hearings, not the one you all saw on TV. I did that 7 times. On top of that, the Manhattan DA, the New York Attorney General, $495 million, right? Now 34 criminal counts. I get under his skin. As far as throwing things, I've never seen him throw ketchup. He likes ketchup too much.
Matt Flynn?
Yeah, listen, Michael, one of the things that I was fascinated by, and it disturbs me about the guy, you mentioned in one of your reports that when you drove down to the congressional hearing, you thought you had to be disguised. I think you wore sunglasses and a baseball hat, and I know you've been attacked. How much he apparently relishes people threatening his critics, hang Mike Pence, that kind of thing. How much do you think he knows about the details? How much is he behind it? Or is it just that he's ginning it up by his vicious public attacks?
He knows. He knows and he relishes in it, just as he did for those 96 minutes. My friends, listen to me carefully on this one. For 96 minutes, he disappeared while police officers, while the people's house were being ransacked and vandalized, all right, while there was an attempt to try to hang Mike Pence and to kill Nancy Pelosi. I know this guy like I know the back of my hand. He sat there, which ultimately, and I said it on the spot, he was enjoying it, which is why he didn't call for any backup, because he was enjoying watching these people doing what he obviously is too scared to do and wouldn't do on his own, but watching them do what he truly wanted, wearing MAGA red hats, carrying Trump 2020 flags along with MAGA flags. They were doing it in his honor, and he wasn't going to stop it.
Absolutely incredible. I think
no,
that's
it's more like it's disgusting.
It is disgusting.
Disgusting, right?
But that was a great question by Matt. I appreciate your transparency, Michael Cohen, because these are the things I think that we sitting at home. I had a small business at the time in 2021 watching this on my TV, and you wondered, is the guy that shallow, or is he just dumb, or is he actually enjoying it? And unfortunately, you've confirmed my worst fear that the guy actually enjoyed January 6th.
And he did. And he did because, again, it was in his honor. And he wasn't going to do anything, despite the fact that everyone around him, including his own kids, were saying, hey, Dad, you got to make a call. You got to call this off. Go out, go on television, tell people to stop it, go home. You need to do something. Did he do it? No. Why? Again, for the same reason I said before, it was being done in his honor and he was enjoying it.
This show goes out to all parts of Wisconsin. I'm a former Republican. I know that we have Republicans that listen to the show. What do you think? And there's a segment that's never going to leave Trump's loyalty land. But what do you think that people who might be moderates or kind of center right-leaning people, what is the message for them that you have today?
If you truly care about democracy, if you care about constitutional rights, if you care about America's democratic republic, there is only one decision that needs to be made in November of 2024. And that is you must make sure that you are registered to vote. So go to vote.org and make sure that you vote up and down ballot blue, voting for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in 2024. Vote like democracy is on the line, because it is.
Matt Flynn?
That was an excellent statement. And the only thing that I would leave you with, Michael, a lot of people admired your telling the truth like this. I'm just concerned about ongoing threats to the FBI, to election commissioners, and to you, guys like you. So I hope that there is some thought being given to protecting people from attack, because I'm convinced, especially after what you said, that Donald Trump is actually part of this and part of this intimidation of people who criticize him.
Michael Cohen, we have less than a minute left, about 45 seconds. It's all yours.
Unfortunately, it's going on. Not only have I been doxxed and swatted, they just swatted my 89-year-old father and my 81-year-old mother. I'm talking about dogs. I'm talking about helicopters. I'm talking about FBI agents carrying AR-15s, everything. This is not normal behavior. It's done at the direction of and for the benefit of Donald J. Trump, and we will stop him in November.
Michael Cohen, you can catch him on his new YouTube channel, The Michael Cohen Show, also his podcast, Mea Culpa, his books, Disloyal and Revenge, a new one coming out. Michael Cohen, thank you so much. You're welcome anytime. Please come back and talk to us.
You know that I will. Thank you, Todd, and thank you, Matt.